You don't know this one?
That's good. No, I don't know this one.
Hold on. My stream knows. Very often it's my intro music. I like to have a music to pump me up in the beginning. And yeah, we are live. Something? Hello, everybody. Hello. And we are live. Jake, how are you doing?
Hello. I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on. This is awesome.
Thanks for being here, my friend. So today, chat, we have the incredible Jake Don't Draw. So first of all, why don't draw? Why? Why would people not draw? What's the problem with drawing, my friend?
It's a long story. I used to just I didn't know a lot of like artists and stuff. I'm self-taught, and people would always come up to me and say, "Oh, hey, you're an artist. My niece draws too. My wife goes to the paint and sip nights," and I ended up just saying once like, no, like I don't draw, and it just became like a funny meme, That's where it comes from.
All right,
but,
Jake.
Drawing is number one, actually.
Jake Taplin, if you don't know, ladies and gentlemen. I'm pronouncing it right? Jake Taplin?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So you can check him out. Of course, you know this dude. Blowing up, actually. I just realized he's been only doing YouTube since April. Incredible. You can check out his YouTube channel right now. I'm showing them the YouTube channel. Obviously, Jake Don't Draw. Just check him out, subscribe, bell notification, everything, join, do everything. Give him all your money, give him everything. And Sweet. You can also check the Instagram. One crazy thing about you, because I talk with a lot of people that do YouTube, Instagram, and arts, but you combine, you have like communities that are as big on YouTube, like. And Instagram, huge community as well, and TikTok. And you're doing it all. Ever since April.
Yeah, I got my start on shorts and stuff. I think that's the only way to grow online nowadays is through the short form.
Yeah.
But we got a whole bunch of stuff cooking. Yeah, it's tough.
The most. I started streaming actually when YouTube started really pushing the shorts format, and I was like, no, I don't want to be shorter. I want to make my content even longer and just go live for 4 hours. Mm-hmm. I don't care. Just let me just go out and just paint and take my time. But I get you have to distill the essence. You're really talented. Mm-hmm. Check him out, guys. Jake Don't Draw, Jake Taplin, Instagram, YouTube, and all. Really cool. And if you don't know about this creator, what would you call yourself? What would you call yourself? Fine artists?
Yeah, I don't like the labels, but I focus mostly on I do a lot of reading and history research and 19th century techniques. So that's really where a lot of stuff comes from. Is I just try to make 19th century painting and academic art interesting and fun, for the young people.
Yeah, that's how I discovered you. As I was telling you earlier, at first I think I saw this video, this artist trying to sculpt in Minecraft. Crazy video. Go check it out. And I was checking out the channel, and I was looking at, traditional 19th century paintings. And I was like, what is happening here? Because I thought it was more of a gaming channel, but no, actually legit artist. Yeah. And then I discovered, this one with the Bouguereau, your Bouguereau copy that you had to censor the body. That's crazy. I never do that anymore.
It's rough.
I never do that anymore.
I know. I normally it just gets demonetized, but they fully age restricted me, and I was so upset. I spent a whole.
I don't even try. And my gallery my gallerist would love me to to make more nudes and all. I'm like, all right, if I make them,
it's a good problem to have.
If I make if I make them, I can't make content out of it. It's okay, I have to,
Yeah.
Are you sure you're gonna sell this painting? Because I'm not doing it because I like to make videos and I can make content at the same time. So I just hit two birds with one stone. But if I'm making a nude, I know for sure that YouTube is not gonna like it. All right.
I'm bringing the nudes to your stream today. I'm
Oh
doing
my God, yeah.
black one.
All right, let's check out
It's not too
chat
bad.
first. Let me say hello to everybody. We have Fish Take coming from your Discord. First time watching a stream, so welcome here. We have Sue, we have Iceland going to paint at the same time. So that's the spirit in my chat, is like we have these sessions. Like normally Friday is drawing day and we get together and we make art together. So basically we work on the same projects together. So today, my friends, just talking to my chat, I'm not going to do an assignment. I'm just painting one of my regular paintings. This one, I've painted it earlier. I changed the face of the baby and the position and all, but we'll have time to talk about it more later. But yeah, I'm working on my regular art, but you'll be more interested in what Jake is doing, because Jake has something interesting to show, something that I never heard of, and tell us about it.
Are we talking about my Copics?
Yeah, I didn't even
never
know
heard of
this word until today, frankly.
Oh, I met a lot of artists that aren't super aware of these, but yeah, they're just alcohol markers. I've seen them online a lot. I just got them the other day for the first time. I picked up so it's like out of 10 on a value scale. So 3 is like pretty light, and then a neutral 5, and then I have like a warm kind of 3 out of 10 shadow. So it's like a warm, cool, warm color relationship. So you can get like a little bit of color out of them. But mostly grayscale, and you're kind of limited to only 3 values. So I've been having a lot of fun with
That's
them.
actually
I have a whole
perfect.
ton of
I think a lot of super cool exercises could come out of this, just being limited to only 3 values, because it's typically one like very classical exercise you might want to make with painting. But like with markers, it makes perfect sense, and it's something like more. Let's say, the modeling that you get to do with this is insane, my friend. Great work.
Yeah. I spend it's just like fun too, because I don't have to take these super seriously. I just take like an hour or so. I sketched for like an hour before we started here, just to, get this on the paper, but we'll see how far I can get rendering this. Yeah. But, I can't draw and talk at the same time. I'm sure you're the same way.
You can't?
I'll make a ton of mistakes. I'll make a lot of mistakes if I'm trying to stream and talk.
I got used to it. I'm doing exclusively streaming while talking.
Oh, really? Yeah.
It gets at first it's exhausting.
I've got more comfortable, but it's tough.
I'm not even
it's
speaking in my own language, so this is sometimes what when I focus really hard, or when I have like a crazy difficulty in my painting or drawing to solve, like immediately my words like completely mess up. Not speaking intelligibly anymore.
You can actually pronounce Bouguereau correctly.
Yes,
which is
that's
something that's never been done on my channel before.
I can also do baguette, and I can also do oui la France, and and yeah. That's the cool thing.
How is it being an artist living in Paris?
Sorry. I was just saying I was laughing super hard when you try to pronounce Hippolyte Flandrin. You know what it is? Hippolyte Flandrin.
Oh my God, I didn't even know what you're talking about. Now it's Hippolyte Flandrin.
No, it's not Hippolyte Flandrin. It's Hippolyte Flandrin.
That is funny. Oh my! It took me a second.
Yeah, I knew.
Hippolyte Flandrin. I don't know the
French. Hardest is Flandrin. You have to do the r and the un, which is like super tough. If you're not French, it's like we have a special like pronunciation to make sure that nobody's stealing our words, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Your culture. Yeah, that's pretty much a meme on my channel. Is I get pretty much all the pronunciations wrong. I'm not even confident in the English stuff.
Well, next time we can make it a meme. It's like you do your video, and for just the time when you have to pronounce, it's like you give me a call. I pronounce it for you.
Yeah.
You you paste it on top of your audio, and it's done.
It's good to know that I have you there for that. That's
I'll help you, especially
that's a good connection.
if you're really into 19th century. Like, this is really the time where just French art was blowing up. So yeah, there's lots of cool stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like, a lot of things people refer to as the bargs. For us, like, this pronunciation is alright, like barg. So it's fine.
That's
else?
better. Yeah, that's better than barg.
There's what? Delacroix. This is 19th
And
century.
Jerome.
Jérôme, ouais.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not too far.
Jérôme is fine. Jérôme is an amazing artist. I was like, at first I look at your banner and I immediately recognized. I was like, yeah, this guy knows what's up. Jérôme is one of my favorite artists.
Oh, I'm sorry to do this to you. That's Fortuny, my friend.
It's not that your banner is not Jérôme?
It's Fortuny, Spanish wedding. Oh, I'm sorry to do it to you. I know what painting you're thinking of. Probably,
yeah.
The Jerome.
Let me check it out. Well, actually, look at this. Look at this little slice. Well, you can't look at it now, but on my screen I have this tiny slice. But yeah, all right.
Yeah,
I thought this was
much.
a Jérôme one. But Jérôme, if you don't know, my friends, is, well, I'm gonna pull up my favorite one from him. The Felice, you know, the one in the arena.
Yes.
I think this is my favorite one. Incredible light control. No, I'm just gonna show that to the good people of the YouTube, so that they know what's up. So I didn't think this was this one. I thought this was another one by Jérôme, but this is what Jérôme does. Incredible.
Yeah.
This one, the light,
there's
the
always
light
those
rays and stuff.
Carpets and tapestries draped over everything in 19th century work. And
yeah, I've analyzed this painting more than once on my streams, and like, you can actually count the individual spectators in the public, in the audience. Like, it's insane. They're really well done. Crazy. All right, but yeah, you know, Jérôme, that's good enough for me. You're good enough.
Yeah, how long have you been doing, this whole art thing, Florent? I know you've been on YouTube for years.
Yeah, I've been on YouTube before it was cool, and before you kids made like 15 seconds videos. I was like, when I first started, I think it was like 10 years ago, stuff like that. I was still learning. I was still in the process of, basically teaching myself how to paint. And I was doing it quite successfully. I thought I had like lots of cool ideas, because I was actually looking at all these like old books and manuals from the 19th century, and all this knowledge that was pretty much gone for a long time, and that was forgotten for most people. So I was like, hey, it could be a pretty cool idea to bring this back to YouTube. And this was a relatively new platform, not a lot going on at the time. In terms of this type of niche, there was nothing like really.
You were making YouTube videos 10 years ago? I saw some from like 6.
Yeah, I think at least 8. But yeah.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah, and but yeah, so this was when I was in the process of learning, because I think you sometimes you can help people even better if you're learning yourself, which is why all these Discord things that we make, like, people like talk to each other, and this is where they actually learn the most. I find is like, I mean, I have been struggling with this. I see you struggling with exactly the same thing. I'm still a beginner, but I can at least point to something that might be something you need to do that I had to do just before you. And when you get like more experience, sometimes you start to forget, and you're like, okay, I want to show up my skills. Like, I'm super skilled now, so I want to make this demo, but it has to be extremely good. But like, people are not at this level yet, so you're not really helping. So that's
Yeah, I
how
think that's
started.
actually a big problem with the internet. And it's really easy, especially as a content creator, to want to like make something that like looks good. But a lot of times most of the time, that's really not the best demo.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's not even the best, painting, I think. It's just trying to like look, like there's bigger ideas, and it's easy to get caught up in the aesthetics of everything.
Yeah.
It's something I deal with a lot. It's a cycle. You kind of go back and forth, I feel like.
Yeah, but if you're not concerned about the aesthetics as well, why are you making art as well? It's like another question. It's like you have to. There's a sort of a balance in between to find. You have to still kind of worry about it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But it's just the content is somewhere else. It's like not the final results. I used to stress a lot about like, can I finish this tutorial if my painting is not 100% done, or like I was really pushing my. It was just a YouTube demo, and I was like pushing it to the extreme of where it's like pinpoint accurate, like really 19th century extreme excellence level of trying to achieve the best thing, and I was like, okay, it's just a 15-minute videos on YouTube. It's like, who cares, right? Just give like cool ideas that people can put in their work, and just leave it at that. And what I like about your approach is like I think you're talking to maybe a new audience that's not necessarily not necessarily start to be attracted to art in the first place. What would you say? Do you say your audience comes more from gaming or from art, or kind of mix of both? It's like your way of approaching
I think that
is really cool, I think.
I think that there's a lot of young people who are very interested in art, but like when you just search art online, or when you're like, at least in America, you're in these like high school art classes or whatever, you kind of get pushed towards like, more contemporary stuff. There's very little, there's very little kind of like, there's not a lot of like good options for like getting pulled down into like more of this traditional or realist style art, and I think that's a big failure on our parts. Everyone who's a realist artist and isn't making it as as appealing as possible and easy as possible to get into. So I try to target people who have been maybe just curious about art, and I just try to make it fun and interesting, and then I try to offer an entertaining level, but then also like a more technical side that people can get sucked into a little bit deeper if they're interested.
No, but I tell you, your fusion of kind of gaming culture and 19th century timeless principles of art is like super unique, and it's very refreshing. So that's for those of you who haven't checked Jake out yet, just go follow him. Guy has been making videos since April, so you have to support the guy.
And I think, well, I have to caveat that a little bit. I made a couple videos. I made a couple video essays last year, like about a year ago now. But I was like, I don't really see how I could possibly get popular on YouTube. So then I went and I just made a bunch of TikToks for a while, and then I got popular on TikTok, and then I came back. So, technically it's been like a year, but really I would start taking YouTube seriously. Because TikTok was just blocking all my videos. Same nudity stuff. It's just too frustrating to deal with. But, I think, on a bigger picture, with the education stuff, I think the 19th century and the traditional education stuff is what people need right now. There's not... again, like there's not like a very clear path to art if you're interested in it. There's not like a good if you want to make it like a video game, like a skill progression or something like that. That without like a strong academic influence, it's tough to see like how you could possibly get better. And I think the 19th century stuff like is such a clear and fun and entertaining path to go down.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, actually, it's the 19th century, but it's actually the 19th century just because it's the last big era before the modern art came out, and just because it's still the same timeless principles. Just it basically art, like classical art education, stopped at the 19th century. But if it wasn't for that, like it would still be the same. We wouldn't call it 19th century. We'd call it, art, regular art.
I agree with that. I think that there was something very unique happening at the end of the 19th century, and it kind of quickly changed. There was like some very interesting ideas with the generation after, Jerome, and when Jerome was older, and I think that education for me, that was peak, and those are kind of the principles I like to draw from. So I'm not like, well, it's hard because I have to caveat everything, but maybe I'm not as super interested in like the site-sizey or like Florence Academy techniques that you see. There's kind of a specific time period that I really like at the end of the 19th century.
Yeah.
Although people were doing a whole bunch of different things all over the place, so it's really hard to say that broadly.
Yeah, you know what? I think there was a huge era of creativity. Like you have late Bouguereau and early Monet, and like lots of stuff was happening. And I think this was all due to how photography kind of shuffled up the game again for everybody. And I think maybe like, I don't know, what's your take on AI? Do you think AI might be like kind of a revolution, just like photography was in the 19th century? Because it's kind of my ideas. Like it's going to be revolutionizing whether you want it or not. Like a lot of painters in the 19th century didn't want to be replaced by photos, but it happened. So you had to reinvent yourself and start coming up with new ideas. And do you think
it's an interesting conversation.
Do you have another? What's your take on AI?
So there's a lot of people who are principally or ethically opposed to AI. I'm not super interested in that argument. They're probably right. As far as like property, that type of stuff. What it does for art is it's very interesting, and this is the same thing with photography. And there was a lot of great, interesting stuff going on at the end of the 19th century, and I think that photography did a lot to like push certain things, but we left a little bit behind. Like in the 40s or 50s, whenever that Loomis book came out, he's talking about how it's so rare to find a good illustrator nowadays because nobody knows kind of like these more academic design principles. Like people don't have the ability to do this stuff, so like now like people are having to rely on technology, and I think that we have kind of cornered ourselves more and more and more. And one thing I don't like to see is a lot of like beginners and students using AI like reference photos, because I think my biggest problem with AI is that it, just the way that it learns and looks at things is very surface level, and it like doesn't understand anything about like structure or form or like it's very focused on just light and like getting things to look good and patterns and stuff like that.
There's already kind of an AI style if you know.
Yeah,
if you know how to look for it, you can spot an AI picture in like, you have hundreds of YouTube thumbnails. You can spot all the ones done with AI very easily because there's such a recognizable style. And I think it might just be very, very, not very light fast, if you know what I mean. This era, it might be producing a lot of, trash, and like very soon people will probably get bored. I don't know. It's
100%. And I think exactly. And I get really tired of seeing people kind of like tracing too much, or all these people learning on digital using kind of liquify on all their proportions all the time. And for me, maybe I'm becoming an old school conservative academic, but to me, I would rather draw, have people draw and not be perfectly accurate. I mean, you can learn to get there eventually, but at some point, accuracy is just a little bit of like a time spent pursuit. And I think there are some, there's time and place to go for that, but there are also some like more, deeper ideals that I think are more important to go through. And people just kind of, maybe because of laziness, tend to learn backwards sometimes.
Yeah, sure.
So, yeah, AI is, I don't know. It's fine if you want to experiment, mess around. When it first came out, I was super, super excited. Now it's like I open up Instagram messages and it's like, do you want to use AI to DM your friend, to reply to your friend? And it's like, no.
Man.
Who would do that?
The same guys who are doing the NFTs are now just big in promoting AI. And...
Yeah, exactly. That's definitely a part of it.
I think the technologies though is here to stay. Like, it's not going back. It's just like how many people actually use it all the time and how they use it. This is going to change a lot. But I think the technology is not going anywhere. Like, once a new stuff arrives, like, you have the old grumpy dudes who say, no, we don't want this.
Yeah,
still,
that's
you
true.
have this. You don't want this, but you have this. Like 30 years ago, people didn't say, hey, people said, hey, we don't want computers and we don't need that. I can write my stuff in my book, yeah, but you're gonna use the computer whether you want it or not. It's just not a technology that's just, the technology doesn't care what you think. It's gonna happen. The question is how would people react, and how is it going to affect your how you do things every day.
Yeah, I think that's true. And what I like a lot about the 19th century stuff, especially the late 19th century stuff, is and you can, there were people like Bouguereau who are very accurate. Now I don't believe that he was using camera obscura or anything like that, and I feel very confident in saying that.
Yeah, no.
But they weren't shooting for like a perfect optical accuracy in the 19th century academic drawing. And if you look at like the Prix-de-Rome,
more than accurate actually. Like they were trying to idealize more to something that's not actually accurate. It's like more than accurate if you want to. Like, you have photos of Bouguereau and his model, and you see the model and you see the painting and you're like, whoa, she's not that beautiful. So okay, he got something, but he made her way more like absolutely perfect than she is. So she's a normal woman, right? He made her really incredibly beautiful, but she was
and Bouguereau was more conservative with, or like he did that stuff more than other people. I mean, he was older, right? Like, opposed to like a Bastien Lepage or any of the more like hardcore, more naturalistic painters. I like the Russian painters too, like Repin or Serov or Kromskoy. Like they're not quite as interested in idealizing as Bouguereau did. They were more interested in just capturing a more kind of like the most honest thing that they possibly can. I mean, that's what the Wanderers group in Russian art was, and there was plenty of French 19th century artists as well. In that Lepage camp. Even in their academic work too. So it's like at the beginning of the century, they were like super, super interested in that more kind of classical proportion and like idealization. At the end of the century, I think they were, when there was more cameras, I think they were less interested in that.
Yeah, because photography blew up the game. Like with photography,
yeah, exactly.
We realized that, okay, first of all, we were all getting it wrong since forever, because photography revolutionized how people saw a lot of things. Like a lot of painters actually realized that some of the canons of how you paint horses and stuff, it was all inaccurate, like how you paint like movements and stuff like that. So they immediately recognized that, well, okay, we're not gonna just win against photography by trying to achieve accuracy. Let's say in painters nowadays, we can't win against AI by trying to ban it, or by trying to be more like you can't make more images faster, or no, like it's done. What you have to do is go towards what's actually more human in making art, and just focus on that. So focus on the imperfections and just make them actually meaningful.
And yeah, I've been working on a video about drawing and reading through a whole bunch of different kind of old drawing books and synthesizing some of the information. And it's exactly what Loomis says too. It's like there's no reason to try to compete with it. Photography on like value accuracy. What art and drawing is needs to become kind of something more essential to what the values that we want to represent. And that's what the strength of an artist is, and that's what the strength of learning to compose. I really respect that you do these original, all this original, incredible, large, epic work. I think that's something that is not talked about in academic, schools and stuff like that at all. There's a lot of like training on, optical accuracy, but there's not that much focus on like actually, composition and creating original work. And that's what the 19th century is all about.
Alright, Fishtech from the Discord saying, art is really cool because you can synthesize different things that you've seen into something completely unique. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And you have to make it meaningfully, because in a way you can say, Fishtech, you can say that AI does the same, like basically like takes like thousands or millions of images, computes them together, gives you 4 options in a couple seconds. So it's insanely powerful. But, as a human, you don't have the computational power to do that. But you're kind of mixing images, as you say. You synthesize, you take several reference photos, several inspirations, put them together, create something unique. But you have to make it count. And that's what's very human about it. You have to make it count. You can make mistakes along the way. There are traces of your hand. There are traces of things that you messed up, and this is what's making actually felt like it's a real human thing.
Guest Zoom.
Like this is the bot. The sound you heard.
Oh yeah.
Somebody's zooming
Zoom in.
on your drawing. Yeah. So for example, when you mix audio for a band with drums. Like, the machine would make it sound absolutely perfect, like perfect rhythm, but it actually doesn't sound natural. So they have to add like fake imperfections in the rhythm, otherwise it just sounds too mechanic. Because natural drumming is never like perfect.
In music?
Yeah, in music.
What's your background in that?
I don't know, some guy from YouTube that I've heard talking about it.
Oh no, I didn't know if you were a musician or something.
No, I'm not a musician. Sorry, I thought.
Oh, okay.
I thought you were asking about my source.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
I used
believe
the program though, and it was an option to make this drumming.
I'm curious, Florent, what your process is like for building these large compositional images that you make. You start out with like some composition sketching, and then you shoot your own model refs and stuff like that.
So that's step 1. Step 2, then step 3 is get depressed because it doesn't work. Then step 3 is start again. Step yeah, and then put it on the side for a couple of months, and then take it up. Now, yeah, what I do is I start with a sketch first, then I need models, but I'm very annoying with how I use my models, because I want it to be accurate and all, but I can't have a model because I change my mind like constantly, and it would just cost me a fortune, or even would just bore my friends to death. To just always be there no, I want the arms to be actually higher or lower. It's just like, come on, So what I do, very very weird, is but this is my thing. Now the people know is like sometimes I take my own photos, like I take photos of myself, and I change them. Like for example, the legs here of this model, I took these are my legs at first. I changed them, of course, to make them look, more feminine, but, I didn't want to have a model to pose just for that. I just wanted this pose, right? For example, the face, it's not a woman that actually exists. It's actually inspired broadly by a Bouguereau, actually, indeed.
Okay.
So I wanted something kind of, you know, Bouguereau-like. You know, and I came up with this. Baby is just kind of a reference picture I found, and then I just changed features, changed a lot of stuff. So my work is very, it takes a while, and it's a lot of trial and error. So that's the thing.
Oh, it's exhausting working on like a large original piece.
Yeah.
I really like that kind of flat classical profile. That's definitely very Bouguereau-esque.
Yeah. So do you make your original pieces, or do you? I
it's something
checked
I'm
out
moving
if you
into
had
more.
originals, but I struggled to find many actually. On your
I'm mostly
actually Instagram.
just studying. I've been really getting more comfortable, and that's kind of part of what I do on my channel is kind of challenge myself to do. You know, like, you know, make my own stuff. But I only started, you know, doing this art stuff about, I don't know, 5.5 years ago or so. You know, I'm self-taught, so I'm pretty slow. But it's something that I'm really starting to get a lot more comfortable with, and will do more. I really like doing kind of the academic stuff, but I do need to kind of branch out more and work. And I have, you know, goals of doing larger, more original pieces for sure. So, you know, I have a handful here and there, but nothing that I've taken like super far or large scale like that. To me, it's just always like I run into stuff that I just want to learn, you know, and I feel like there's just so much efficiency to be had right now, or like I can still, you know, it's better for me to make like a, you know, series of smaller works or, you know, sketches and stuff like that, and then just like take what I'm missing and then go study it rather than like kind of fully commit to stuff. But
yeah,
I think I'm running low on that time, and it would be very beneficial for me to work on some larger stuff.
sometimes, you know, I had quite the opposite. Is like for so much time I couldn't work on anything small. It's like, okay, if I want to invest some time, at least I'm gonna make it big. First of all, because I like the size of the faces and all. It's just easier to paint. Just when you do this kind of figuration, like making it smaller is difficult,
100%.
and you don't get the full body. And making it bigger is just too weird. So I like to use this kind of the size first was kind of an imperative to make it easier to handle. Like
How tall is that? Like
well, this one
1.5 meter, 2 meter?
This one I don't remember exactly. Sometimes I write it in the back, but it's like, yeah, 1 meter high and 80 something centimeters.
Sometimes I'll start a sentence and I don't even know where it's going. I just hope I find it along the way.
Right. Hi, Steven.
Is this Steven?
Yeah. Steven
Does
sometimes.
Steven have consciousness? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Does he just?
Yeah.
Wow,
Steven
he's sentient.
Steven works in an office.
What is Steven? What is he made of? I'm curious about this guy. What's the lore?
He's made of hold on, how is it called? Streamer bot.
Oh, okay.
Do you know Streamer bot?
Yeah, I think I've used,
And
or at
Steven
least
is
somewhat aware of it.
the other program that's Speaker bot, and that's Jeff. Jeff is an inside joke with my stream. It's just there was once this annoying fly, and it turned out to be, you remember the fly episode in Breaking Bad? Yeah, basically it was the same thing. Like the entire stream was focused on this fly, and they somehow,
This has ruined my recordings
my
too.
chat, they adopted it. They called it Jeff, and I wanted to get rid of Jeff, but my chat wanted to keep Jeff and just adopt him. So yeah.
Yeah, I there's always one fly when you're recording. That is my observation. I've had this happen to me many times. Just perfectly in shot.
So how long have you been making art? It's kind of the silly question, but should ask you.
Yeah.
Did you go to
you know,
first? I think you didn't go to art school. Is it what you said?
No, I've been doing this. Yeah, I started when I was 19. I had no experience. It's about. I'm 25 now, so it's been about 5.5 years. Pretty much just like another kind of like COVID. A lot of people started during COVID, and I studied online mostly. I didn't go to any art school or anything.
Yeah.
I did like a year of state school, but it was just atrociously bad, so I dropped out. Just random online stuff, and then I studied a little bit with Devin Corwin on Instagram, and then Ramon Hurtado. Me and him are both working together on a whole bunch of stuff right now, and then I did do one summer, or just a couple months in Italy, studying with a Russian painter. So that was that's my only like in-person formal training. It's just that. It was a couple years ago. But yeah, I kind of, being self-taught has a lot of struggles, and it sounds like you're self-taught or mostly self-taught.
Yeah,
Is that
mostly,
true?
yeah. Painting at least.
Did you go to an atelier for?
No, I didn't. But I spent like 6 months. I could take like courses in an atelier in London that is closed now actually since COVID. Actually, I got out of this atelier because I didn't have the money to go through the whole curriculum. And a couple years later, they were closing. And during COVID, I was blowing up on YouTube, of course, because I was already there.
That's funny looking back on them.
It's too bad though because
what was the atelier?
Lara, London Atelier of Representational Art. Yeah, it's too bad. They
I
closed.
know of it.
So I could only do like 2 terms there because I was broke. Because basically I didn't go to art school. Same thing in France. It was all about contemporary modern stuff. If you want to really learn with the the techniques we use, right? Well, it was kind of okay. You can learn this, but then you have to put poop on it and just call it provocative, because otherwise we're not just gonna allow that. This is shocking that you want to paint, right? How dare you? And I was like, okay, but you guys have all this still. These fancy schools in France, they still have all They still have all the materials, so that's my chat saying that something is up. Right. Is it possible that Florent could bump his volume up? Or Jake bring his down? Okay. I'll handle the sound. You don't worry about anything, Jake.
Probably better for you.
Alright, I'll do this on my end. It's gonna be easier. Jake down. Okay. Alright. Bumps my sound.
Yeah, you know what?
Alright. Go ahead.
What were we talking about?
The art schools, I was saying that the art schools in France, they still have all this these casts. They have a Lao Kun, by the way, a life-size reproduction.
Yeah, Cole is still there.
They use it for silly stuff, like they do like modern art on it, basically. Mm-hmm. Like they don't use it for
Cole, and the cast hall is still there.
Yeah, they still have this
building,
stuff,
but
they don't teach the stuff that goes with it.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit sad. Have you, do you know much about like the Prix de Rome?
Yep. It still exists.
Just because. No, I think it got canceled in like the 60s.
Really? Well, they have a version, but that's kind of a modern version of an art prize. I know you can participate.
Well, it's funny because you can look at it from like, they have pictures going back to like the 1840s or whatever, and like they're all realist paintings, and like 20th century comes around and there's still like really good realist paintings paintings, but some of them kind of have like weird, like chunky proportions or like, you know, looser paint. And then like 1940 comes around and it's just like all abstract. And then by the time it's at like 1960, it's like completely abstract, you know, just designed art. And then they stop the program. It's interesting to look at though.
I thought I thought it was still there, but it was just contemporary now, because they have a contemporary kind of price for students like that go to these schools.
I'm sure that it's pretty typical of the French to rename a big program and then just, you know, keep it going.
Yeah, but maybe they just wanted to completely get rid of the kind of tradition of figuration and stuff. They wanted to make something more groundbreaking. Or
do you do you travel or sketch from the museums often? There's not much travel.
Yeah, not as much as I would want. I'm mostly a studio painter, but you know, yeah, I've got tons of stuff to visit here.
I'm just curious about, you know, the experience of being an artist in Paris.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I used to go a lot too. Especially the Louvre was awesome. Very cool.
Mm-hmm. So
where are you, by the way?
I
don't know if you can say it. If you want to say it, you can avoid the question if you want to reveal where you are in the world. I don't know.
Oh no, I'm on the East Coast.
Okay.
In the U.S.
Right.
Yeah, but really not too much. You know, to me, I ask these questions because we don't really have a whole lot of, you know, serious classical art around here, or, you know, 19th century art around here. A little bit, you know, in like Boston and stuff, but that's not exactly where I am. So to hear from someone who, like, you know, lives in Paris and they got all these, you know, museums and you know, just even the architecture is going to be much more inspiring. You know, it's fun and interesting to hear about. You know, we got too many Americans over here that are learning art just from reference photos.
Yeah, sure.
I'm one of them.
Well, some parts of the U.S. used to be built like that, like early 20th century. You have some old like areas in some cities where you have all these kind of I don't know what's this style is called. It was a kind of a mix between classical, and a lot of these buildings were torn down to, you know, put the skyscrapers, stuff like that. But it's funny, sometimes you look at old pictures and you're like, what? This is the US? It looks awesome. Like kind of old style, but it was America.
Well, it's funny because my city used to have like a cool like monorail that would run like straight through and would go to all the nearby towns. It was awesome, and then, you know, they tore it down. So it's like we, you know, have worse public transportation than we used to. So it's a shame. That's kind of all of the U.S. really feels like that sometimes.
It's funny that the US, you guys seem to build stuff that's not necessarily made to last. It's just like a project for the moment and we'll see how it goes, but you don't hesitate to tear everything down and just build completely new. Like for us, like you can't just change the entire city center because, you know, you have so much stuff. But everybody's gonna say, no, we don't want this, no.
Yeah, you have to protect the historical.
Rebuild and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you want to talk about terrible city planning, yeah, I'm here for it. In America is just it's a disaster in that regard. Yeah, it's a shame. And it's tough, you know, as an artist too, because that's what I was really amazed by going to Italy for the first time is, you know, Italy's just full of, you know, every corner of every building has some sort of like ornamental, you know, design on it, and it's just, you know, you're constantly surrounded in art, you know, by art, and then, you know, we look at like 19th century painters and they're like, oh, like their anatomy books weren't that good, like how could they have learned all this like great anatomy stuff? And it's like, well, there's like Greek sculpture, like literally, like all over the place, and they had this big cast hall, and like, you know. Yeah, I don't know if it's consolation for you, but
we've been making things more ugly since this era, so don't worry, we're catching up. Because
Yeah.
like basically like going back like most of the recent stuff, like a lot of stuff is really like just function first and just cut costs. We don't care about ornaments anymore, so let's build a big, concrete box and just call it a day. And we've been doing this a lot.
Yeah.
We still have those historic centers, but that's stuff that was built like sometimes thousands of years ago, right? It's like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. I'm in like the older part of the United States, and it's a couple hundred years, or older than that, but you're really like 300 years old. This is as old as most stuff gets, buildings. So it's a totally different world in Europe, and I think it does impact you as an artist if you grow up around that stuff. I think it makes certain things more understandable, at least.
So sorry, I think we went on a tangent. You were talking about your art journey. So how did you start? I didn't get the full. Can we trace back?
You're right. Yeah. Sorry, I'm a bit ADHD, so sometimes I'll get pulled to the side.
I'm pretty much the same.
So I just did some online classes, studied with Devin Corwin after a while, to kind of did like the one-on-one mentorship. That was really helpful. And then let's see, after that, Ramon Hurtado, and then he referred me to Leonid, a Russian painter in Italy. And I was there for a summer working on some kind of my first real introduction to somewhat academic technique, so more the Russian style academic technique. And after that, I've just been back where I live here, and just taking online stuff and practicing and getting better. I slowly started teaching about a year ago, doing some one-on-one sessions with people, and then started making some content to try and promote that. And now I just really like content a lot. I like making stuff, and I'm working on a lot of really cool videos right now. I think are really unique.
Awesome.
Not so much just the gaming stuff. Because I want to bring some of this history stuff to the forefront. I think there's so many interesting and like fun narratives in that world. And people just don't know about them. But if you have some of those narratives, like they're very inspiring, and they kind of push you to learn more. And it's also, there's just too much perfectionism online, and people kind of get super, me too, get super caught up like in the weeds with every little thing, because you don't have like strong kind of guidance in the way that you learn.
So tell me, what's this big project? Tell me more.
I'm working on a few things right now.
You don't have to spoil it if you want to preserve the surprise.
Well, I've just been, primarily I'm working on a video for the past month or so, just about kind of all these topics in general, just about kind of the experience of drawing and learning to draw, and kind of some of these different approaches to drawing, because I think that there's just many approaches out there, and they're very, very confusing. If you're a beginner, you don't know like which one to do. Should you do like the Loomis method, or should you do sight size, or should you do a constructive technique? And just like I've grown like a little bit more frustrated, seeing people kind of endlessly debate what I think are some of like the wrong things to focus on. And like a big contention I don't like is like everybody refers to the Loomis method as as the Loomis method, but that's, I think, never a name that Loomis himself used, and he kind of says quite the opposite in his book. That
exactly.
That you should never draw. No two portraits should be the same, and you should always experiment. And
it's funny how this word, this term became a thing. And when you actually read Loomis himself, it's there's no method. It's actually in the titles, like for what it's worth. It's like it really pretty much signifies that, well, okay, you do how you can. Just not saying that this is the Loomis method or anything. How do you interpret this title? I don't know. It's always been puzzling to me. Figure drawing for all it's worth.
Well, I think with the Loomis method thing, I think it's just that like people learn from tutorials that people have made of the people who made those tutorials learn from other people who made tutorials, and then they learn from other people who made tutorials, and we're so far down like this level of abstraction.
This is a new tradition emerging, though.
Yeah,
It's a new form of tradition.
Somewhat, but I think like it's uninformed.
It's a renaissance.
You know,
it's a TikTok renaissance.
Maybe not a good one. Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure I want a TikTok renaissance. Yeah, you know, I think the 19th century guys and the people that came off of that wave, you know, the illustrators of the 20th century, they weren't so like, you know, in the weeds and like needed a perfect explanation for everything. And you know, that's what everybody wants, is just someone to like grab their hand and tell them. But I think if you do grab somebody's hand and tell them literally everything, then they kind of don't get all of the, you know, facilities that they need to actually become like a successful artist and to actually, you know, learn long term.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this delicate balance between giving people too much information and you know, being clear and good in your teaching, because there is great, you know, good teaching, and you do have to, you know, you can't set somebody out on their own completely, because then you get like this weird modern stuff that, you know, that you mentioned earlier. That was my frustration in university. It was like,
yeah,
no, you know, real instruction on anything.
So what did you study?
Oh, I did like I did 1 year of art at like a state university. Mm-hmm. I dropped out because it wasn't as good as online stuff. I did 2 years of engineering. Like that was kind of my whole, you know, teenage years. Was I went to like a tech school and wanted, you know, to become an engineer, but I wasn't very good at that. I didn't really like math all that much. I need to be passionate about whatever I can do.
Yeah. Well, that's what's great about your content. It's like you're sharing a passion, and you're making people who probably would not have dared to pick up a brush, just go out and try, and just it's fun and it's entertaining, and I like it.
What about you? Do you have you know, any kind of plans or you know, paintings that you want to make, or content stuff you're thinking about?
Yeah, well, the big content stuff at the moment is like what I call the Atelier of Figurative Art. It's like basically it's just a concept that we create a sort of a pseudo community, and we work together online on the same topics. We just like we get the same projects, and we every week so during the streams, actually, like normally on this day I would be doing a drawing stream, so we would all get the same reference and work from it. So I demonstrate basically what I can in the stream, and people do what they want to share in the Discord. So this is the project going on at the moment. And after that, for my personal art, is just trying to get things done. Mostly it's what the hardest. Got a baby recently. He's like 5 months old now.
Oh wow.
So trying to manage balance, you know,
a lot.
Family life, YouTube life. YouTube is like more important than your family. Like the overlords want more out of you than
yeah, that's true. You just gotta yell at your audience a little bit.
Sorry?
You gotta tell them to be, they're like a kid. Your audience is like a kid, if they want more, you gotta just tell them, you gotta tell them like it is, You gotta keep them in line. That's the approach for the stream chat. It's a military dictatorship over on my stream in Discord.
Yes.
But we do a similar thing in my Discord. We do a new reference photo every couple weeks, and
Yeah.
I do critique streams on them sometimes.
Yeah, I saw one of your videos like that, I think.
That was probably the Hippolyte.
Yeah, Hippolyte Flandre.
Hippolyte. Fix my easel here. Are you kind of, what is the narrative behind the painting that you're working on now?
Oh yeah, that's a tough question. I try to not get a narrative per se. I know, but it sounds cliche, but I just go with the vibe like a musician. I put things that sound good together, right? I try to put things that would look cool together, mostly. I don't, and I try to put story elements, because people can't help but interpret things. So, but I always try to make them not, obvious and not leaning in a direction that would make people interpret it in certain ways. So I always try to stay away from, this is a painting about I don't know, about abortion and that. No, I don't want this stuff. I want, just images that look good together. Just put them in a big blender and just try to make something awesome out of it. And the symbolism is up to. There is symbolism, in a way, but it I don't care what symbolism you want. Like it's like the same composition by a musician might make different people feel differently based on their reaction to it. So for me, it's kind of the same spirit for the paintings.
So, what's inspiring to you about that process? What makes you excited to do the next one?
I just like to make cool stuff. Yeah, I try to make cool images that I like. I don't know where they come from necessarily, but I know generally I start with some type of movement, some type of expression. It's always centered around the human figure. That's the main inspiration. So basically, the first inspiration was this female face, and from there I work around. It's like, as a musician, you might start with a note, and then you put other notes that go with it. It's kind of the same kind of spirit.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense. Do you keep like a little composition sketchbook, or do you work on like one painting at a time and search until you get it, or do you have like lots of little ideas kind of floating about?
I've got lots of little ideas, but they're too much for a sketchbook. It's like I would be wasting time if I was trying to compile them all. So what I do have though is a lot of, I have some Photoshop basically files where I just put the things together. It's almost like a sketchbook but digital basically. Mm-hmm. I put my references directly together, try to arrange them, and most of the time I start with this because my sketchbook is where I would get, let's say, I would get the movement, the position, the face, but I don't necessarily know, or kind of big elements of the composition, but I'm not gonna just get all the elements in my sketchbook. So I do a lot of basically there's two sides to the sketchbook. One is real sketchbook paper, and the other one is kind of digital.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. I think like collaging and stuff like that is a good process.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, I think that people, like the masters, back in the day, I've said in the past, like that, they probably would, use whatever tool they had available to them.
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely.
certainly people would use digital.
Yeah.
I think there are some caveats on that statement, but yeah, I know some fantastic artists that do. I think digital is great for composition sketching in general because it's just so iterative and you can have layers and kind of move stuff around however you want. Like,
Oh yeah.
the only way you can compete with that in traditional is just to like keep everything very, very small and very, very generic, and just kind of design, the biggest ideas possible.
Yeah.
But
If you're making just a plain portrait, let's say, you don't necessarily need that much. But if you make what I want to make is, yeah, absolutely, it's getting more difficult to make it look realistic. Or the other way is to not care at all about the realism and just paint from your head, and then you lose a bit of, the realistic looking, the nice shadows, the nice rendering and all. But you get to not use anything at all. Like you just start and you paint. Maybe I should try one day. I've never been into this. I like to have references. What I like is like I like to recreate the textures, like the drapery, I like to have this. Actually, the drapery I'm making out of my imagination right now, so I don't have a reference, but I did study my I have my, I did put a drapery next to my painting to study the folds and all. Once you get, the general idea of how the folds work, it's enough, right?
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's an interesting process. How do you kind of move from the sketch to your larger painting?
Yeah, from this. So what I do is I do a sort of a limited grid. So basically, my sketch already has the dimensions of my canvas. So I can enlarge it with a very simplified grid. Generally, I have the thirds and the center lines. And it kind of lets me position so I have this tiny drawing in my sketchbook and I can upscale it very easily. And from there, the other thing is I draw with paint most of the time. So I can easily, move things around on the canvas. The paint has kind of a lot of people don't like, especially when they start, they don't dare to start with paint immediately. You want your cute little outline because it feels safe, right? But sometimes actually the paint is more, it gives you more versatility, and it's just as useful as using anything like charcoal or anything.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I've had a lot of issues that have been tough to overcome with that because there's times where you want to make a really nice painting, but the way that you do that, you do make the super precise drawing, and then you try to like be super precise and really thin and perfectly small with the paint, and just the painting doesn't come out good because you're not letting the paint be paint at all.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That's one problem.
Oil paint really has properties that shine when you let it be oil paint. I think that's the fun part about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So have you been doing a lot of digital sculpture as well? It was kind of the theme of the first video I knew about you. You were doing the sculpture in Minecraft, and you were just saying that you learned digital sculpting, I think.
Yeah, I've done a little bit of ZBrush. Actually, mostly just ZBrush. I want to do some Blender stuff. I was learning it a little bit more, intently for a while. I've just been more focused on the traditional and drawing stuff right now. I think sculpture is kind of like the best way to learn drawing, to be honest, in many ways. Especially anatomy stuff.
How come? Because isn't it a lot of struggle just to learn how to sculpt with the program? Can it compensate the benefits that you get from drawing? I don't know. I've never done it, so just.
Well, you're right. Like, especially if you're not, super tech savvy, or if it's just your first time digital sculpting, it will take, really, it honestly takes a week or so to get comfortable. It's not fun. It's not a fun process.
Yeah.
But well, and then first off, you can just buy some, some oil-based clay, some monster clay or something, and just start right away. And I certainly recommend that to people.
Just regular clay, by the way.
Yeah. It's just a little bit, some heavier logistics to deal with, like drying and stuff. I like that you can just kind of reuse the oil-based stuff forever. But I think that, it's like digital art, that the iteration is really good, and just any way that you can directly work with form, and it depends on the type of person I'm talking to, but that's generally the number, one prescription that I have to give to people who are trying to learn art is, it's not to be more precise or to, lock in on their, proportions and measurements and angles and stuff. Like, some people need that, and it's, they're important skills, but most of the, 90% of the time, it's really just form ideas. And if you can learn to think about big forms and kind of sculpting and moving big masses, then you don't have to worry so much about, every tiny little piece of, angle and whatnot. You don't have to take a million angles to get everything right, because you can, do a lot of that stuff just understanding the basic form, and then only take the big angles and measurements where you need to. And it makes drawing a lot less stressful. So I think, long story short, sculpting is really good. Really, really good.
So what do you do both, like real sculpting and digital?
I've done a little bit of real sculpting. I've done more digital just because it's,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I like digital sculpting. But like for I did some videos a while back, kind of making my own like dark fantasy style painting. And at some point when you're painting from imagination, you need to like deal with like actual perspective and angle of view issues. Where is the camera going to be positioned and that type of stuff. And the way that I dealt with that, and the way that artists like Frederick Leighton, or really most of the 19th century artists, especially the French, they made little clay models of their composition and their figures. And then they can, make sketches from whatever perspective they need, or, think about it from a different angle. It's super helpful. So I did that for a video a while back. It's just way more fun too, because some artists do, they're crazy, but nobody really likes perspective, and it's also like one of those things like, oh, okay, like I need to learn perspective, and like you just like sit down and you crack open this like textbook and you like start learning, Scott Roberts and all this like plane mirror duplication and stuff like that. And if you just try to just learn perspective, it's going to be so confusing and difficult, and it's no fun. So that, that type of, it's way more fun to kind of think about those ideas through sculpting. I don't know if you've ever tried to do anything similar.
No, Blender scares me. I've got this friend, Mathieu Nozier, who he learned how to use Blender to, create settings and stuff. He told me about it, and I was like, oh, dude.
Yeah, he's a great painter. He's doing those Western painters. I think he just moved to America, right?
Yeah, he wasn't supposed to do Western, though, at first. But
it's a new thing.
He got sucked in. He got sucked in the market.
Yeah,
I had him in the show, by the way, I think a year ago.
Oh, I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I think that's what any concept artist does nowadays too. Is they kind of model the environment in Blender and then just hand paint in all the details and stuff. I think that's great. And I do want to learn Blender also just for like video production stuff too, because I want to experiment with like, 3D sets and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
Just
nice.
because I like that stuff.
It's awesome.
Just any way I can kind of take a skill and like, find a way to like obsess about learning about it.
Oh yeah.
That's
I'm
that's the
like
only
that
way
as
I can
well.
do it.
Sometimes like it's a curse because the skill has nothing to do with
Mhm.
anything that you're supposed to be doing, but somehow
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have to learn woodworking and just invest money in it and just
100%. Yeah, that's kind of how I've been. Like, I just made kind of 2 reels. Apparently I scheduled a post, but it didn't go out for some reason. I'll put it up after this. But I just made a few reels, and I spent like 6 hours on each reel. It's like a 90-second video. It's like it's probably not worth it, but I can kind of I can guide myself by doing what I like, and I'll figure it out as I go. At least I know the things I'm going to do are going to be high quality, and I'll be proud of them, rather than just kind of like pushing stuff out. All right.
Alright, checking out chat. Yeah, I deactivated emoji wall, Cody. I'm talking to my chat. But I can, I don't know if Jake's ready for emoji wall. Because
don't know what
with
that
the
is.
window, it's gonna mess up our windows. This is why I deactivated it. I'm just saying. It's a little game that we have, but it's a game that people do with the commands and all, but it messes up the screens. So, I took time to set up the stream, the stream with all the screen and all, so that it shows your art. I'm not gonna mess it up with chat nonsense.
Yeah, setting up
silly.
the streams takes forever. Let's see.
So what's your approach with those markers? How do you work? Because I see you have like several steps, like first flat background, then outline, then you start kind of the midtones.
Yeah, I just did kind of like a quick sketch before this. This is my first kind of like actual light modeling. I've pretty much just been in the shadows for the most part, and sometimes I'm kind of dragging the edge. This isn't marker paper, so it's a little bit more absorbent than normal, so I think I'm like draining these markers. Yeah, I did like a sketch, and then generally kind of just lay in the shadows, and then I just try to think about kind of big masses on this stuff. So, like large form turning of the rib cage in here, and how we're pulling around the front of the chest. That's the type of stuff I go for. If you try to get into like these little serratus muscles and stuff.
That's cool. You managed to
it's not
get
the
sort
medium
of
for it.
gradients, I think. In a way.
A little bit.
A little, right?
Yeah. What I like about these markers, actually, what I found, especially with the 3, you have 3 values. They're big value groups. And this paper bleeds more than normal marker paper. I don't have big enough paper, so it's kind of interesting effect. But with the 3 values, you get your 3 big groups. Whether that's your lights is my warm one, and then like my normal shadow, and then my black shadow, basically. And then if I layer those over a couple times, then I get like small fluctuations within each group, but not enough that they kind of break the group as a whole, which is like perfect, and it's really fun to work with. So you don't get like too sucked into any details, but you can have like a little bit of variation where you need it.
That's really cool, really interesting.
And this paper is very weird because it's kind of mushing everything around much more than I'm used to, but I don't know, it's fun. I like to just experiment with new stuff. I mean, that's why I do the type of videos that I do as well.
Oh yeah, do you ever stop experimenting? Are you always like, isn't that like stressful? Like, what can I find? Or are you just naturally right? Once you learn one thing, you're up to the next.
Yeah, I'm much more naturally that way, I think, actually.
Okay.
I think I would, I have no interest, at least right now, maybe in the future, of like settling down on a process or a style or a look that I like. You know, to me, like what makes this stuff fun is just to like keep exploring and keep learning new things and just
I get it.
keep figuring stuff out. Which is why I don't make a lot of finished pieces, or why I don't like have any interest in like the gallery world or anything like that. Because the gallery world's tough. I think you need to be very, very consistent.
Oh yeah.
And have a look that people want.
Yeah.
What's your experience like? With all this gallery stuff.
Decent, but I couldn't be doing that just like that. Like the YouTube has been helping a lot, because if you're just starting, it just takes like 10 years at least before you can make enough money, at least in France, if you're not part of the right circles. But you have to know the right people. So I know there are people who buy money, who have a lot of money, who want to buy art, but the real challenge is to find them and get your art in their to sell them your art to them is the tricky stuff. And it's just a lot of networking, a lot of stuff that most of the time artists are not really super interested in. Just selling yourself is more important than actually making art.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the tough things about being everyone wants to be a full-time artist, but I think hobbyists have more time than full-time artists. Being a full-time artist means you have a whole lot of stuff to do. And you're always kind of selling yourself. It's not easy, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And you have to like that part of it to a certain extent.
Well,
for some, it's better just to
like it or not,
have
you
a job.
have to do it. You have to.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a huge part of your work, and combining those aspects. Like you would sell a lot more by making a lot less art and just being more of a networking guy, and making just crap art, which is what happens. Let's say it frankly. Just sometimes they do just random, abstraction art. But if you're really good at finding the right kind of network that can put your art in the right hands, well, you're good. You're good to go. It doesn't matter what you paint.
Yeah.
I mean, they have managed to paint paintings done by pigs and stuff, so they can manage to sell anything, right?
Yeah, I think being good at art is completely optional to being a professional artist. As much as nobody wants to admit that, but it's totally true. And in some ways it's nice. You don't have to go through 10 years of serious academic training, from Jerome himself, or people weren't studying at the École for 6 years, but you don't have to, have these crazy requirements. But on the other hand, it is a little bit disheartening for those of us who do like this stuff.
There is making it for the money, for being an artist, and there's making it for the love of art. And as you said, a lot of hobbyists make it just for the love of art, just for the joy of making art. And if you can be an artist and also make art for the love of art, that's also great. But it's tough. Mm-hmm. It's tough to find the right niche, because sometimes the gallery will want more of this kind of works because they sell better, but you're bored and you don't want to paint them anymore. It's like very often with me, it's like once I've painted a sort of a theme, I don't want to explore it again. It's like this same kind of spirit. I want to explore something new. But sometimes you want to also paint a series, because it's, if you have a show, it's better if the works kind of go together. It's so things to think about. Like, hey, it's not the best job in the world, right? It's not the worst job in the world. It's not the worst types of problems. Like, I'm not saying that I'm complaining, but like it's more creatively, like a lot of people think, you know, being a professional artist is like all, you know, like being inspired and, you know, creating all the time. You know, a lot of it is also, you know, worrying that it will not go with this work, and this is stressful as well, right? That's all I'm saying, but it's not the worst. It's actually the best. But
that's why I really enjoy like just kind of investing myself in random stuff, and why I like kind of the flexibility of making content, and like I'm not scared to invest dozens of hours into like learning editing and like motion graphic stuff, because I just have to hope that, or trust that I can kind of make a product that people like to see, and that it's just like a fun way to keep learning, exploring new things for me. That's what makes it exciting. Is there like a specific kind of motif that galleries like, or people like from your paintings?
Well, yeah, they like this kind of style that I'm doing, which is a sort of a mix of realistic looking paintings and sort of surreal elements, or elements that are outside of imaginary. I think they call it imaginative realism.
Yeah.
So whenever I don't necessarily use this word that much, but I think it's what they call it in the ARC. So they call it this is the category when I participate in the ARC salon. This is the category I go to. And yeah, people kind of like this. Well, actually, they like what you show them. They don't expect anything. That's the problem. It's like they don't expect anything, so you're facing the judgment of. Right, people seem to appreciate these little landscapes, so I'm gonna make more. And it's always like you're worrying what will be your best shot. And you also have the option of making more commissions, but commissions are very boring as well. It's like extremely boring to paint a commission, because people never ask you, Florent, paint me a commission of whatever you want. It's like, Florent, paint me this commission of my cat with, I don't care about your cat. You're nice and all, but
it's true. So, do you have, kind of any specific, like how do you want to stay kind of innovating or keeping things fresh for yourself with content or with your paintings? How do you think about that?
Well, with my painting, it's just making new paintings, because each painting is kind of a new field of exploration. And for the content, I don't know. I think I'm gonna just burn out to death and stop one day. I don't know. It's the content side is
tough. Do you watch anything on YouTube?
Oh, absolutely. I'm always on YouTube.
What type of stuff do you even non-art related, do you like?
Everything. I'm very big YouTube consumer. I don't have a TV. I don't have Netflix or anything. It's just most of my time, most of my entertainment. Anything. I watch like D&D. I watch anything. Gameplay sometimes of video games. Sometimes in the background while I paint. Just.
Because a lot of what I do is like seeing the type of content that I like, which might be like gaming stuff. One of my biggest Instagram reels is this kind of 30 brushstrokes to paint a portrait challenge. Like that was one of my most successful short form content, and I got that idea because I don't even play RuneScape. I haven't since I was much younger, but I like to watch this guy play RuneScape. If you know anything about that game, it's the most boring game ever. All you do is just click and wait. And this guy gets millions of views on every single video because he makes these super exciting, fun challenges for him where he's trying to get these super rare items or do this thing that has a 1 in 30,000 chance of happening. And he turns something really boring into really exciting, so like that's you know, like how I like to think about content is like, you know, like what type of stuff do I like, and then like
Yeah.
how can I make that for painting? You know,
I
like how do we
see.
make other people interested in this?
Yeah, see, I'm not aiming for this type of content at all. I'm more just, I think YouTube is a big lottery, so you hit the lottery every time you upload and you see if it works. What I want to gain from this lottery is evergreen tutorial that's always useful for people. Like people who want to know how to do glazing will always find this video even 10 years from now, and it will always be useful. So this is the kind of stuff that I want. I want to, you know, be a part of the big encyclopedia that is YouTube. And the problem is that this content is not pushed as much because it's not as entertaining for sure. But I think it can be useful, like even like 50 years from now, it will still be as useful.
Well, it's funny because I think I found your content a couple months ago because I was like looking up a video about like, I was trying to look up stuff about like oiling out, and I'm sure you know how difficult it is to find information on any sort of niche painting topic online.
Yeah.
And I watched, you know, some of your painting was just very helpful about oiling out.
Yeah,
So
and
you know, I have gotten that from you.
You know, the problem with YouTube and this system is I couldn't title this video "Oiling Out Problems and How to Varnish." It's like I had to call it a stupid name, like saying, "Oh, this incredible mistake will ruin your paintings in less than 2 seconds if you don't do this and that." And the problem is, like, sometimes people say, "Oh, you didn't make a video about varnishing." And I was like, "Yes, I did, but it's not called How to Varnish a Painting. It's just never do that to the painting or you'll die." It's like, and you have to make a crazy face and.
Well, yeah, and you know that's the problem with tutorial content, or that's what makes it so hard, because the way the algorithm works is it takes your video and it spits it out to a sample of people, and then it sees if those people click on it or how long they watch if they do click on it, and then if, you know, those numbers are good, it sends it out to the next batch, which is slightly bigger, and, you know, just snowballs and snowballs and snowballs. But the problem with a tutorial is like you only want to watch a tutorial when you need it, and like most people on their homepage don't want to watch a tutorial, so you know it's gonna die. And that's what makes it difficult. So yeah, and then, you know, you can start to kind of make the title and thumbnail more exciting, or the video content more exciting, but then it hurts your, you know, like you said, your encyclopedia, because people can't, you know, come back to that in the future.
Yeah, that's the problem. I'm trying to get a mix of both. I started YouTube when it was still a search engine, basically. Like the most important part when I started YouTube was you would go in the search bar, you would type a title and see what comes up, and you would try to pick a title that's not used so that you come up in search. This was the strategy back in the days, and actually some of my best videos are still going strong because they got, you know, well placed back in the days, and they are still useful nowadays. So I'm looking for whenever YouTube wants to bring back this spirit, bringing search back.
Sure
maybe someday they integrate it with AI search or something like that. I don't know, with Gemini or.
You know, yeah, you know, the only thing they're interested in is keeping everyone on the platform for as long as possible. So, you know, it's tough. But you know, that's kind of how I try to circumnavigate that, is just to make kind of interesting content that takes people along for the journey and answers that question. But, you know, it's not searchable. It's not in that encyclopedic,
you
know, entry. But, you know, if somebody is just like hooked and they binge watch, you know, 10 of my videos, you know, they might hopefully learn all those same things without even realizing.
Yeah,
that's kind of my goal, you know. And then if they want more specific stuff, you know, they can go to your Patreon or something like that for the actual lessons.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it is, a lot of people kind of hate the algorithm stuff, but it to me, as someone who had 0 or 200 subscribers in April, and now I have like 300,000. You know, it allows people to to go from nothing to, you know, like the discoverability online has never been greater. It's just different now. You know, that's the way that I see it, and it's going to be different in 5 years or 10 years. Very different. You always got to stay 2 steps ahead, which is why this is being a content creator tough. It's not easy.
Yeah, for sure. I got my. I figured out personally. I think like chasing more viral or more formats is not for me. It's not that I want to be a part of it. But it's like I did it before. Now it's just I'm leaving it to the next generation. I'm gonna niche down. I'm gonna focus on my 1,000 true fans and try to bring value to less people and but more value, you know, more personalized stuff, more genuine, less trying to be clickbaity and stuff.
Yeah, I get that. It's definitely authenticity is most important. I think that's what, you know, people want someone that they can, you know, respect and you know, feels genuine, not, you know, like some, you know, big corporate thing.
So how's your drawing?
Which is why, you know, it's going pretty well. There's some weird proportional stuff, but I you know, I knew it wouldn't be perfectly accurate, but I'm starting to round some
great.
halftones and stuff.
I like
thanks,
from the distance of the camera, it gives a very nice kind of rendering. The parts that
Thanks. Yeah. I like how some of these edges are kind of naturally blurring. I think my marker might be running out, which is these things are expensive. I have to buy some more.
I've never been to markers. Never been to this.
Certainly worth a try. I mean, you know, I just wanted something that was like, you know, in between painting and drawing. You know, that was kind of my something that I could get like the big picture down much quicker without, because I'll do, you know, really, you know, more finely hatched form and structural studies for anatomy, but if you try to do that for everything, you know, it's just it's not the right tool for the job a lot of the times.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a basic guy. Once I've discovered oil paint, I never bought anything ever since. Never tried anything. I'm not even interested.
How much do you like draw?
Drawing, yeah, I do draw a lot, but charcoal, graphite, sometimes a little pencil. That's kind of traditional, like really singing stuff like that. That's all.
Do you like the stump, paper stump?
Nope. I usually don't use it.
Oh.
No, why?
Your French ways.
Why?
That's very, very common in the French Academy. They use the stump all through the 19th century. Depends on where you went.
Yeah, it depends. There are different schools. Schools that you're not supposed to use it at all. What I use is I use a little brush, and I just use a little. I just take a little piece of paper towel and fold it, just like that.
Yeah.
So it works the same way. Basically, it's the same.
Yeah.
So that's what I do, but pretty rarely.
I see. The paper towel thing is like really common. I don't know if you've ever seen those like reels and stuff. The Chinese academic artists do that.
Yeah.
All the time. It's a really interesting look. But you know, it's basically the same. However you want to smudge. Are you like a Nitrum guy?
Oh yeah, very big Nitrum guy.
I see.
I was a Nitrum featured artist once. I had a.
Whoa.
I think I should still be. Maybe I'm still. I don't know. I don't know if I'm still on the page.
How was your painting going?
It's going great, but it's starting to get tacky, and it's annoying.
What do you mean by tacky?
Like it's starting to, you know, stick a bit. I don't know if it's
Is it like semi-dry, like you were painting on it, you know, a day or two
because
ago?
I started this morning and it's starting to dry.
Do you use a seccative? Or,
No,
alkali?
but I use especially for the darks, I use a lot of burnt umber. It dries super fast. So yeah, I'm just showing to my
burnt umber
chat.
will.
Here I am, by the way, my friends, on the Nitrim Charcoal page. If you didn't know, I'm here. Florent, this is my portrait of Eleanor that I did back in the days. It's 2016. Goes way back. So, yeah. Some of the charcoal. So,
This
oh
is
my
nice.
god, I was so young.
2016.
Right. Sorry. Okay. It's not on the right cam. Alright, I'm thinking. I had a couple questions, by the way. So,
Sure.
who, in your eyes, is the most influential artist?
Jeez.
If you can find one, you can have like a top 3.
Yeah. I mean, geez, that's a hard question. Yeah, you know, I'm most inspired. I mean, influential is different from who I'm most inspired by.
Yeah, okay. So who are the artists that you
Influential on
look up
myself?
to the most, or that you would, you know, I don't know.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, you know, I think I really love, you know, Bouguereau. He's probably a little bit more refined in some ways than me, but I you know, certainly very high up there, and I have a tremendous amount of respect and really, I think he was probably is one of the most technical and greatest artists of all time.
I think he's more refined than anybody on this planet.
Yeah, anyone
pretty
alive
much
now,
like
yeah,
it's
certainly.
the top. So don't worry. Yeah, definitely. Okay, Boogaloo.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe like Ilya Repin is probably up there as well.
It's a funny jump between the two, though.
Yeah,
like, the difference in style.
I'm not interested in Bouguereau because he's like this classicist or has these like very soft skin tones. I like Bouguereau because he's a powerhouse who's capable of a lot more, a lot more than just those kind of soft and sweet and delicate paintings. He did a tremendous amount of stuff throughout his life. But he's an incredible draftsman and a great painter of flesh. And I think there's a lot more crossover than you might think to somebody like Repin, although he doesn't go quite as far with it. And again, a strong emphasis on composition and stuff. And then maybe some like like Bastien Lepage, I think is one of the best naturalist or naturalistic painters. Painters of light. There's always so many that it's hard to pick. But I think I'm very, very interested in form ideas and drawing, like like many of those kind of Repin or Gromskoy or any of that era of painters. But I like how the French kind of balance it out, and they have stronger kind of composition and better, I think, unity through the whole painting than some of those guys. So there's things that I like about both of those camps. Yeah. What about yourself?
Yeah, as I often say, Caravaggio is my number one kind of inspiration. Sometimes when I don't have painting ideas, I just go look in a Caravaggio monography, and I immediately almost find some type of inspiration or some type of kind of character face. I don't know, it's just something that moves me really. And a lot of the symbolists of the 19th century I really like as well. The Waterhouse, stuff like that.
Oh, like the Raphaelites?
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, I really like Waterhouse and Millet and
it's not necessarily
the other Raphaelites.
What I like are those who were more in the kind of the storytelling part. So Millet, for example, is less interesting for me.
Okay. Like Leighton or
yeah, Leighton.
Tadema.
Like, but the style is not necessarily what I would go for. But it's definitely a big reference as well. But it's not one of the most influential. I don't know. Just there's not enough breaking the rules, I think, for my personal, inspiration.
So like, do you like kind of like Dixie, Frank Dixie, for that kind of style, similar style as to what who you mentioned?
Not that much. No, well, it's not that I don't like, but it's not the type of art that I found inspirational. But maybe it's just because I don't know it well enough, I see what you're talking about, but I can't just put a picture on the name that would just be kind of influential enough for me to, think of this artist when I'm looking up for ideas.
So what draws you to Waterhouse?
You know, the kind of same figure that I'm actually painting at the moment, kind of the idealized beauty. I really like this. The story also, how you have something happening in the painting, which is sometimes something that I find kind of boring in Bouguereau. It's like, all right, how many peasants do you actually need?
Sure, yeah.
And also the thing for me is I have family that were peasants in this era, and I know they don't look like that. It's very it was a pretty fake version of this kind of
that's fair.
era, and so I do have the photos, I know. So, and it kind of looks kind of fake-ish, a little bit too much for me to find it super inspirational. It's beautiful, don't get me wrong, but it's
I think that's
a
fair.
weird mix. I find that this kind of pastoral kind of life, I don't get into that.
Yeah, that's not why I like Bouguereau. Yeah, I like his technique, his painting of flesh. I don't think there's very few people I met that are like super excited about his his peasant paintings. His grander compositions I think are much more. Well, yeah, but I think it's much more about like those grander compositions. Whether you want to go back to Dante and Virgil, or whether you have the Bacchus dance. I think those, and also it's like he started painting those peasants and stuff. That was after his wife died and like 2 of his kids died. Like the guy had like the hardest life ever. So.
Yeah.
He ended up painting like these very sappy, sweet kind of paintings, and I kind of get it for him. But yeah, that's not the type of content that I want in my painting either. So who else other than Waterhouse?
Who else? Bucklin? I don't know if you know Bucklin. Not Bucklin, the guy who painted the Isle of the Dead. Super famous, painting with like you have like a tiny boat with some type of like draped white figure, and there's this island. I know you know the painting.
This painting, yeah.
And just this painting alone makes me a fan of the guy. Because I don't know, this is the kind of, whenever I paint a landscape, I want to catch something as, strong as this. His other paintings, not that much, but you can be an inspiration for just this one painting. Mm-hmm. I mean, for me it is.
Yeah. Interesting. He's another symbolist artist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you know maybe Gustave Moreau?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. He's a great inspiration, but especially I've visited his museum in Paris more than once. It's like his old house, but like he had a huge house, by the way, in Paris. It would be incredibly expensive nowadays, but and now they've turned it into a museum, so it's really authentic place where he painted. It's just the kind of the brush style, like the touch is definitely not something I would be going for, except maybe in 1 or 2 of his paintings. He got a much more loose, kind of weird, dry brush style in the end. Mm-hmm. That's most of his paintings look like that.
Yeah, many of the academics have a very the mid to late 19th century academics don't like, you have Gérôme, you have Bouguereau, but a lot of them have very kind of, especially maybe more of those like pre-de-Rome paintings, or maybe somebody a little bit like some of Cabanel's larger works. The brushwork is very non-interesting. Like it's just kind of like the fastest way and the most efficient way possible to get it done. A lot of that dry brushing stuff where they're just kind of like drawing on color.
All right, let me zoom in on your drawing. It looks cool.
Yeah, I'm kind of wrapping up
I like
here.
how
I think
it almost feels like it's a sort of a little digital.
it has that feeling. Yeah, it's a really unique medium, I think. And
Like-
you know, just 3 values too, and there's so much further I can
Yeah.
push this.
I think it looks like the kind of stuff the digital guys try to imitate, emulate, you know. They create fancy brushes to make this. Do you do a lot of digital
Yeah, I've
as
never
well?
been a big fan of the digital painting. Yeah, I don't like I just can't stand the feel of it, and I hate the search for, you know, a brush that's good. You know, I just only use basically the hard round brush when I do digital painting. I'm not interested in.
So the guy who basically
trying to
sculpted in Minecraft hates to search for a
Yeah,
simple
yeah, I
brush
know, right?
in Photoshop. Okay, I get it. You're a simple guy.
It's because, you know, it is kind of it's like in Minecraft I have this like limited, but you know, I have this limited tool set, or you know, whatever game I'm playing, you know, whether it's you know, Roblox or whatever. I have this very limited tool set, you know, and I have to make what's best of it. And I'd rather kind of treat traditional or digital like that, because you know, that's in the way that, you know, traditional is too, and in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I do digital as well. Just, well, I don't do a lot of digital. I just do, as I say, my little collage for my refs, and that's all I do. Never the finished work.
It's just it's not an enjoyable experience to paint in, I find, you know, if you're used to oil.
Yeah, maybe because I don't want to invest in the right, you know, proper material, and it would be much better if I, you know, would dedicate my entire work hours to that. I'd probably get decent results, I'm sure. I'm just not interested, just because I have the real stuff, so why would I try to find a fake digital brush that does something similar? I have a real one.
Yeah, it will never emulate as good as you want it to. You know, you got to use digital for what it's best at, and that's not.
Actually, digital
it's
is just better, like by default, because you have like tons of options that make it look good without even trying, right? Like you have stuff that makes
like what?
Like the brush, the digital brush will always have the right, you know, kind of look, because it's been programmed to look a certain way, right? When you have an actual brush, like you struggle to make it look exactly how you want, and you just mess it up. You have to start over. You have to, you know, scratch it off. It's not that simple.
And I think that those kind of struggles make, you know, better artists. And if you like go for like the instant gratification stuff, that you know, I think it hurts you a little bit in the long run. That's you know, also I'm not a huge fan of like, you know, tracing or AI, you know, that type of stuff.
Yeah. Somebody
Ultimately, I
has the
think
Isle
some of
of
those
the
beliefs
Dead
are
tattoo in
limiting.
his back. Somebody in chat, Jordan in chat, has the Isle of the Dead tattoo in the back. That's metal.
Oh,
It's pretty metal.
that is a cool tattoo to have. I wonder. That painting got like a huge resurgence in the 20th century because of some guy. I don't remember the story behind it. It must have been some like print run. I think I've like killed these markers. I'm like, no, there's nothing coming out of them. I think this paper was too absorbent. There goes $15.
They were new? Yeah,
Well, new they're like $8 a piece, man. It's ridiculous.
Man, you have to contact them.
new.
I'm sure they'll be happy to send them to you. Do you do a lot of sponsorships?
Oh yeah, you're right. I forget that I'm famous, dude. I can just have people send it to me.
You're
for free.
an
I forgot.
influencer now.
I totally
Free
forgot.
stuff now.
Yeah, I pay for everything. I take sponsorships on my YouTube channel, you know, for semi-related stuff if I'm making a long video, and that's a, you know, a good part of my income, especially if I'm going to get demonetized from you know, having your artwork in it. But I haven't taken any like art sponsorships. I'm not sure that like most art brands are, you know, they'll send you stuff for free, which I should probably
Yeah, that's
do.
all.
But I don't,
You can't eat that.
yeah, exactly. They're not gonna.
Yeah.
I'm not super interested.
Yeah,
in,
I generally on my channel I don't do sponsorships at all. I prefer to keep the advertising space for me. Like I would just point people to my courses, stuff on my Patreon. It's like, and I gain a lot more. I can buy my own stuff, and I'll be free to say whatever I want. Because a lot of the sponsorship offers is like the trusted brands, like they don't necessarily need that much, you know, visibility. Like some might want to, you know, you can be, you know, I don't know, endorsed by a brand, and you know they ship you the stuff for free, but then you have to only use this brand.
yeah, exactly.
You have to do a monthly, you know, shorts showcasing the brand, and come on. And specifically, I like the fact that the different brands of paint like are different. Like a lot of people complain about it and like, oh my god, how come this Winsor & Newton one is this way and this other brand is different? It's actually great because, you know, you have two different paints for the same pigment. It's awesome. You see how they have.
Yeah,
like,
I love experimenting with new different, you know, brands of paint and stuff. That's fun.
I can see how you exhausted your marker. I can really, like, you can see it right now.
Yeah, there's nothing
Very
left.
visible
I think
now.
this was a bad choice. That's all right. That just gives me a good
last
excuse to buy
breath
more.
of the marker. You did great.
Thank you. Yeah, this was fun. Someone asked if I work in other mediums. Yeah, I just this is like my 8th time working with markers. Oh, okay. Yeah, I can call it. I can call it here.
Yeah, perfect. Really cool. You exhausted the last bit of ink.
Yeah,
out of
exactly.
these. Well, thanks, man. Thanks for being a part of this this little stream gathering. I'm always looking for streaming buddies.
Yeah, man, we can stay in touch. I'm sure we can have you phone in for some French pronunciation. I think that's
yeah, you do that
that's
next
well
time.
needed.
Next time, for the meme. It will be
Yeah,
fun.
exactly.
Well, all right. So thank you very much, everybody in chat, for your presence here. Leave a like before you go because we have to reach at least 100 before we turn the stream off. Come on, let's do this. All right, 95 finally. All right, we get there. Thank you again, Jake, for your presence. Thank you, everybody in chat. I'll see you for the next one, my friends. And as always, joy and inspiration to you. A final word, Jake?
Draw more.
Draw more.
That's
yeah.
it.
The guy called Jake Don't Draw is saying draw more. Right.
Yeah,
Find the logic in that. See you, my friends. Bye-bye.